both sexes, it's important that we point out that these actions are being taken at a young age, and I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Someone restate everything Victor said, and then tell me how you feel about that.
Basically what he said was that the Washington State is trying to teach younger kids about like certain like stereotypes or like gender roles that some adults have, some adults struggle with, like even now. But I feel like both of them are doing a great job at trying to like make kids aware of certain genders or like stereotypes at a young age, and I feel like that's a step toward the right direction in some cases.
I think
Is that what you said?
to the
Yeah.
question. I think it connects to the
Some.
question.
Kevin, do you want to add on before Sade?
No, I was just saying how they both like are showing and are open to like young, like they both have like, it's very direct in showing young kids like ensuring that they're trying to change young kids or like influence them at an early age.
So
One point that he missed in what I also said was the part of self-identity and like teaching these kids self-identity at a very young age, because they haven't even grown up to identify with themselves, and now they're being taught different types of identity. So it's like at this young age they just like conform to whatever people say. They just like follow as they're being taught. Shadi?
I think the key word in that question is train, and they're training children to think about the biological sex, think about biological sex, or think of whatever. And so both the Washington one and actually the Veil also has something to connect to, because they both are talking about children, right? I mean, yeah, children trying to adapt to society, and they're trained, like in the Veil, they're training them to wear the veil and actually like go with the religion that they're adapting to, that they're supposed to be adapted to. And then there's just one person that just does not want to go with it. And so I feel like, I mean, I know there's many people that are disagreeing with it, but there's always that one person that's, takes a stand. And I think the parents are the people who are taking a stand in the Washington one, because most parents don't agree that their children should be learning about HIV and learning about what's the word?
Transgenderism.
Yeah, that. And yeah.
I think this also goes back to our one question. I can't recall the question now.
It's over there.
Oh. The second question, I also answered the second question, like all these sex, like where do our ideas of gender roles and sexual stereotypes come from? I think now, like in our day and age, we're starting to see the ideas of like different like gender being manifested in like other places that are not only our parents, because usually once you think of gender, you think of like an old tradition where your parents told you, oh, this is right, this is wrong, this is what you should be, and like now we're like kind of like divergent from that, as you can see in the Washington Post, how it's being taught in schools now, but before it was never taught in school. It was just something that you learned at home, which is also what the nature versus nurture thing is saying. So,
And the Veil is saying that too,
additionally,
To
the
some
bill.
extent.
to some extent. What do you mean?
I feel like the first two pages do a good job at like showing the training of children to identify with the gender at an early age. The girls are given a veil to wear, and they're also split up from bilingual schools, so it's like it shows the effects that the girls in Iran are going through, and boys
And they're
at
also
an early
suffering
age.
from the boys.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically this idea of like learning about like other genders is like expanding now to like different forms, like in schools, like community based. It's not just only like parents telling kids what to do. Even though some parents, like we see in the Washington Post, are still like that and like trying to tell them the kids what to do, but eventually, it'll be out of their control.
And some parents might feel like their children are gonna take that information the wrong way, and I don't think children. I still don't think children should be taught that much.
Going back to what Sade said about the veil, I feel like the veil answers question 2 about clothing being identified as a gender identity and sex, because the girls have to wear the veil, and like she said, the girls have to be separated from the boys.
I feel like that we could relate that to Robert Mapplethorpe and the images that he took, because he took 2 pictures, one depicting what a female would wear, one showing feminism and the other showing masculinity. And I just feel like the females or the feminism shown in his pictures is like
It's interesting that Kevin pointed out that.
The feminism and that is shown in his face is like, he has makeup on, like, the reason why he doesn't have any clothes on is because he's saying, like, that's how people see women, naked and, like, not naked, but, like, they see women as objects.
Interesting that Kevin brought up these photos. Initially, when I first looked at the photos, because it was on different pages, on separate pages, I saw the first one with him with no clothing. Like, I was like, it was kind of like androgynous, as I say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of like I saw a male and a female. But then when I looked at the second image with the jacket on, the biker jacket, it seemed to be more like a male, and that just like goes to show how like mentally like we are like we have been like what is it called? Yeah, trained to like look at certain clothing and associated with a gender or like a sex. So automatically, after I saw like him having a cigarette, his hair style, and like the jacket, I associated with a male. But initially, I thought it was like androgynous.
If you have them like in the packet, it's interesting to rip it apart and can you look at it next to each other? Or are they on front and back of the page?
In the original packet was from the back.
So like if the Google Docs version was next to each other, so it creates, like, you can kind of compare them differently than in the packet. So if someone's next to you with it next to each other, you get more, you can come up with this, you can really see how androgynous this man's face is, but then yet we still, like, what is it about it? Is it the nakedness that makes it more feminine? Is it the makeup? Is he really wearing that much makeup in the second frame? How much has he really changed his hair? It's the cigarette, you say, and the jacket that really make him more masculine in the right-hand frame, or in the second frame if you have the packet. So, like, that's a really interesting kind of exploration of these images. And, like, androgyny means that you, like, can kind of switch between male and female characteristics. Or I think biology means that you have both parts. Snails are androgynous because they can switch their gender, their sex. They can actually switch what genitalia they have based on the environment and the needs. So, like, snails take a really long time to get to another snail. They don't move very fast. After all of that traveling, if they come across another girl snail and they need to mate, one of them switches, and then they mate, and then they go all along their way. So it makes sense for snails to be able to do that, and that's how human evolution, we all started as amoebas, and then one day another amoeba jumped into another amoeba, and that was the first sexual reproduction. Those amoebas didn't have a gender or sex or anything, they were just amoebas, and then at some point, genitalia evolved, and then that's when we had sex, and then gender came way after that. So snails are an interesting example of way back in the beginning, we were all just amoebas, and we just replicated ourselves. Anyway, I digress. Androgyny is that you can, like, switch between a different sex, sort of like snails. So getting back to Mapplethorpe, Sade has it next to average attractions. Do you see any connections between what was in the average attractions text, which dealt with looking at faces and has some photos, and Mapplethorpe's text?
Well, you could tell, like, her face is the same in all 4 pictures.
What was the main idea of average attractions?
It was the main idea of average attraction was that that people find attractive faces that are more plain, and like the most attractive people to everyone, to like society, are the people who have like facial features that are like the most relatable and like the most common. So yeah, I just felt like that was important to point out. And it was based on actual like scientific study done in like Texas University.
In this text, they thought normal was the most attractive, like what they said, but the normal that they analyzed wasn't the actual normal because they left out a couple of different types of people. So it wasn't really the normal.
What do you think this study would do with Mapplethorpe? What category would they put him in? Would they show him as the female face? Would they put him in a male category? Like, could they put him in both? What would that do to the results?
I think they'll have like a reason they have him in women and a reason to put him in man because of this picture. You don't really we don't really know if that's his natural look. Or we don't know if this is makeup and this is how he actually looks. Or he only took off the makeup to do this part. Like, you don't know.
He does lots of pictures of himself like this, different, like, where he switches. So he probably switches in regular life. And if you're just looking at someone's face and they're just isolating his face, they could probably use him in both categories. It's interesting to think about. All right. We have some time for like one more thought. Who would like to close us out? We can go to any question. We can stick on the text that we have been talking about. We can go somewhere else, or we can wrap everything up. Maybe someone who hasn't said anything yet. Nothing yet? So we'll wrap up here. If you didn't